Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the KnifeCenter. And on today's episode of KnifeAQ, number 239 of the series where I answer all your questions, sharp or dull, we're doing some rapid fire lightning round for the whole episode. Let's do it. Hey, if you're new to this channel and this series, what we do for these KnifeAQ videos is we answer your questions, or I try to answer them best of my ability. We get the questions from the comment section below the videos. So drop your question down below if you think it merits inclusion or consideration for a future episode. And yes, before anyone else asks, Thomas is still on vacation and our technical difficulties haven't been resolved. So we're filming this single camera, close up, so you can hopefully see some stuff as I'm talking about it. But we should have everything hopefully sorted out by next week. First question today comes from Ercio or Ercyco, not sure. DCA in the 90s, 440 A, B, and C were considered super steels and put onto $400 blades that guys gladly paid for. Still good on knives, like most Rough Riders, marbles, etc. Why is it considered a letdown now? Makeup is high carbon and high chromium, but people react to it like it's lead-laden pot metal. I'd say like 440C especially, still pretty good. 440B, which is roughly analogous to like AUS-8 or 8CR series stainless, it's fine. I've said before, because steel doesn't always matter as much as we make it out to matter. That said, when there are steels that we kind of agree on as being better, quote unquote, than 440C that don't necessarily cost more, why not go with the quote unquote better option? Perhaps an argument for another day, but I will relay something that I was told once, and it may in fact be true. It sounds like there's a good nugget of truth to it, and that is a steel like 440C only rose to prominence not necessarily or not specifically because of its performance characteristics, which again, in my opinion, are fine, but because it polished really well. And those $400 knives that our commenter or questioner is talking about, custom makers really latched on to 440C because of its ability to take a really high finish. And you still see that on stuff like this. This is the EK Model 13 presentation grade. And you can see how well it's polished because you can see the reflection of me holding the knife right there. And this is a 440C blade. Takes a real fine polish. That said, a lot of budget steels nowadays, 440C among them, I think are pretty dang good. Does everyone need the higher end steel? I don't think always. One example that some folks kind of called me out on, we do have our recently restocked KnifeCenter exclusive version of my Maximal design in the SF2 blade steel, which is upgraded from the RPM 9 of the base model. Interestingly, SF2 is sort of a powder metal version that has similarities to 154, or sorry, it's not powder metal, it's a spray form steel with similarities to 154 CM, but in spray form version. And 154 CM was an evolution of 440C. I have one of my exclusives because I have to have it. I don't usually carry it. I still carry the RPM 9 version just about every day right now because it's a fine steel. Does a really good job. Anyway, you can check out the restock on those down below if you wish. Next question comes from Persepolis. Hey DCA, how do knife makers decide what blade material to use? I would say a smart knife maker would choose a steel that has a good set of characteristics for the targeted use of the knife. If it's a big heavy chopper, you want a steel with more toughness. If it's a small gentleman's knife with scalpel-like blade, you want something with higher edge retention and not necessarily as much toughness. So a smart maker balances the requirements of the design with the properties of the steel. A really smart knife maker chooses a steel that's going to sell, which is why some knife makers might not choose 440C nowadays. So really smart knife makers are going to choose something that they can sell, that they can reinvest the dollars, make the next knife, and put food on their table. You know what I mean? The best knife makers do both. Have an appropriate steel and they do something that's going to sell and keep food on their table. Next question comes from Armando Noriega. Did Cold Steel completely stop making knives in the USA? It seems like every single knife here is made in Taiwan except one in Italy. This is extremely disappointing. It's also kind of old news in a way. Not to be derogatory to you or anything. The bulk of Cold Steel's lineup has always been imported. Point the first. A fewer things here and there have been made in the USA, but the last time any real significant bulk of their lineup was US made would have been 2007, pre-2007. That's when Camillus went bankrupt from Camillus, New York. Now it's, Chinese-made products are labeled Camillus now. And Camillus was making any of the old Carbon V Cold Steel knives, for example. For instance, Carbon V is essentially 1095 Krovan. You could get the Trailmaster, this classic buoy right here, in Carbon V format. Now it's made in Taiwan, and this is a Sanmai VG1 core bladed version. So yeah, it's interesting to kind of hear people bring up Cold Steel a lot when we talk about US made stuff. We did a short a while back on US made buoy knives, and there are a ton of comments getting mad that we left out Cold Steel. Like, well, they aren't made in the US. But it comes up a lot. So it makes me wonder if that's just a vestige of the pre-2007 era when there were some US made Cold Steels out there, and some very prominent ones like on the Trailmaster, for example. Or if it's something else, I'm not sure. Nowadays, there are a couple things that are made in the US. And here's the thing, Cold Steel does not own their own manufacturing. As far as I know, they never have. So they've always partnered with factories to produce their design. So when Camillus went bankrupt, if they couldn't find another factory in the US willing to make the knives for them at a price they wanted it to be, it's going to lead to other things. But the original Formax, when it first came out, there was a US made run. Nowadays, there are two. The Republic fixed blade, which is made by White River Knives, fantastic knife making company, by the way. Really cool knife, S35 VN, micarta handles, very durable, about a 5-inch blade, and the Archangel Balisong. I'm actually not, I don't have confirmation which American Bally manufacturer is making this, but again, this is a US made Cold Steel. So there are two options at least in the current lineup. Next question comes from Mark Manor. The blade part of the scissors on the Leatherman Arc seems to be the same length as the Wave Alpha. Less beefy for sure, but am I right about that? Okay, let's talk about it. The Wave Alpha, recently released by Leatherman, is taking the place in the lineup of the Charge series, which that series and now the Wave Alpha is essentially an upgraded Leatherman Wave. There are more significant differences between the Wave and the Wave Alpha than there were from the Wave to the Charge series, but one of them, of course, is the new MagnaCut blade, one-hand opening. The other is bigger outside openable scissors compared to the standard Wave model. But this sits price-wise at a decent spot in between the Leatherman Wave and the Leatherman Arc, which we have right here. But let's compare these scissors specifically, since you're talking about that. Here we go. Here is the Wave Alpha. Here is the Arc. I'm holding it in front even, and you can see, yeah, the Arc is a little bit smaller. Comfort-wise, the Arc scissors are definitely feel a little more tightly sprung. It's because it's dealing with less length, I suppose. Yeah, that's comfortable. They're both about the same thickness of, bar that you're pushing on. Yeah, no, the Arc does indeed, or sorry, the Wave Alpha does indeed have bigger scissors than the Arc. I hope that helps Mark. Mark. JR526 asks, I've just started seeing ads for titanium cutting boards. Could this be the greatest idea since screen doors for submarines? It might be on the same level as that. If I'm missing something here, please teach me something. I don't think so, man. The idea of the sharpened edge of my kitchen knife, which I should have brought an example in here, like, great. Oh, Oh, I can hear it in my head right now, and it's giving me shivers. I don't like it. I don't want it. I don't want it in my house. I don't want it anywhere near me. Titanium presentation board is what it would be if it wound up in my house. Unless, in fact, I am missing something as well. You can enlighten me in the comments, folks. Yeah, the titanium should be softer than steel, but that doesn't mean it's kind to your edges. Wood is still the kindest material out there on your knife edges, for sure. Brian Matthews asks, best lock type for taking to the beach. I need a knife to cut limes for my beverages on the beach. Sounds like a good time. Where are you going this time of year? It's getting to be winter in the Northern Hemisphere here. Which lock type is going to be least affected by the sand? Please don't say crossbar. I would not say crossbar. Although crossbar is not bad, there are plenty of places for sand to kind of get in trapped in a crossbar lock. I would want an open-backed frame lock, preferably with washers, quite honestly. Something like the Essie Avispa. And this would have, incidentally, with this Auss-8 blade here, nice stainless properties and a great thin full flat ground blade, which would work excellently at limes. But with an open back construction like this, less or fewer places for sand to get trapped up. Frame lock, as you can see right there. Again, nice open spaces, no real tight crevices, easy to clean out, easy to blow out from sand, and washers in the pivot, which, again, I prefer to ball bearings if I'm specifically knowing it's going to be exposed to sand and stuff like that. I love ball bearings, but especially like the open ones, IKBS in particular, sand could get trapped in the races there. You might have kind of a hard time. Essie Avispa would be a great knife because, again, if you're on the beach, head into the water. If you lose your knife, hey, these at least aren't very expensive. Maybe I could have picked a more visible color. Like this one would really blend into the sand, wouldn't it? Anyway, I hope all that helps. That's the lightning round questions for today. And now we come, of course, to our most final question of the day, which is our most seriousest question of the day. Arturo Guerrero says, serious question. What is DCA's biggest enemy? 1, front flippers. 2, reverse tanto. 3, Thomas's snarky comments. While all 3 annoy me in different ways, to different degrees, on different days, my biggest enemy right now is these technical difficulties, which means I'm filming this video on my cell phone in the video room here. The magic is gone, I swear. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Shorter video for you folks. I hope you enjoyed it. Regular camera angles should be back next week. Hey, if you've got some questions for yourself, however, that you think are worth including in a future episode, please drop them below. That'll keep the series going for you folks. And if you want to get your hands on any of these knives, links will be in the description, which will take you, of course, to KnifeCenter.com. And don't forget about our long-running Knife Rewards program while you're there, because the least thing we can do when you buy one of our knives today is give you some free money to spend on your next one. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center, signing off for now. See you next time.